Alright, Van Wolverine running Memes-DOS version 6.22. Chapter 16, creating more smart commands. Previous chapter showed with you how you have the advanced capabilities of batch files. Now, how to create batch files only half the job. However, the other half is finding users from the chapter shows you how to create some commands to search through phone lists you created in chapter 13. Take control of your system. Also, guys, advanced batch commands show several use of batch files to give you some ideas of their own use. Alright, preparing for example. The first example of the chapter, you need the phone list of the PH text created with chapter 13. Having gone through the example of 12, 13, chapter 13, 14, and 15, you should know. Do so for preceding PH text. You should also should already be in the directory named rundos. Change the current directory rundos by typing cd prompt C drive the rundos. Your prompt does not appear. The prompt C appears. You can change the match following example to type the prompt to complete the preparation for example. Command searching for the file with the chapter 13 created with the file name, address, and telephone numbers you find with the find and sort command with the display entries. You could also put the find and sort with the commands in the batch file to create your own search commands. Archive some of the capabilities of simple record management program. For example, the simple research for the find command to display all records that contain the particular string with create a batch file. Show with the batch type of the following. C prompt copy console show batch echo off find version 1 ph text control shift Z file copy. Batch file gives the show command with the display all records of the PH text as contained with a string specified with the parameter show with the command to search phone list type show file with a string. For example, to display all the entries for the consultant's entry with the contain with a string consult type C prompt consult. MS displays all entries for the consultant of the PH text. ISO stands for show command requires you specify the string and same combination uppercase, lowercase letters appear with the file. However, have version 5 or later Memes-DOS. Remember that you can include the parameter I to find with the command and ignore differences in the case. For example, if you find the parameter ignore version 1 ph text, you could type the show with the command preceding example, the show with the console, show cons, are still to be ensured with the find entries you wanted. For simplicity, the following example to make with the parameter I to find the command if you want. However, you can include to make a batch file even more flexible. As you've seen, typing show console is easier than typing console ph text read on, and you'll find you can use similar batch files to conduct even more powerful searches just as easy. Alright, compound search is example of chapter 13. Take control of your system shows also you compound with the find command search the record and contain various combinations character strings. For example, all consultant with the name Jones, all entries that are outside of the type of the Evans 747 area code. Put these finding content commands in a batch file. Even more typing show for the command that you just created. For example, suppose you want to create a command to show all the entries that contain both the one string and another. It requires two find commands for the output of the first pipe, then the second. You call the switch such a command show in and created a file named show in batch and copy console show in batch echo off find percentage 1 of ph text and the find percentage 2 in control shift. Second two, this batch command with the two parameter two string file of the command search if there's no search phone listing entries of the two containing two strings are easy. You can search entry containing one string, just type show and followed by two strings. For example, to display all consultant Jones, type the command at the top of the next page, show and in consultants Jones. And this display for the records containing both strings for Jones. This is definitely easier than finding consoles PB text and then flat bracket find Jones. Whatever you use, create the command to show all entries except that they contain a particular string. Use the fixed find command with the parameter V. You can call this command show exempt, creating show exempt batch. Type the following, copy the console, show exempt batch, echo off, control parameter V, verse ph dash, control shift. This batch command requires one parameter of the string you do not want to see. For example, to display all entries of the 747 area code type show exemption, and then you put the parenthesis of the S to show the display all lines of ph text that do not contain S. The area code 747. These three batch files show and show in and show in exempt lets you search a file with a quick and several ways. You can combine all three searches in a single command just showing show batch. Chaining batch file with the create a powerful command. As you skill in the creating of the create batch file grows, as you sometimes find out what you want to use with the batch file to carry out the commands in another batch file. One way to do is to chain the batch file. Another described later in this chapter is using the call command. When you chain batch files, you name the one batch file as a commander and other. MS-DOS then carries out the commands in the second batch files if you have typed its name. If the second batch file contains the name of the third batch file, the MS-DOS carries out the command, and so on. The commands in the last chain batch file have been carried out. MS-DOS returns the system prompt. See how this works. Show the modify show batch to cover all three types of searches just so the perform chain either in the show and batch, show and exempt batch. When you do this, the parameters your type of the provide show command must specify the type of the search as well as the string and the strings for search. 4. When you're creating showing command, following parameters show exemption and strings 1 and 2. Exempt searches entry that do not contain specified strings, and searches for entry that do specify the strings. String 1 and 2 are strings of the search if they include and you must include both strings in 1, 2, otherwise just include string 1. If you not specify an exempt or and, you show the command search for all entries that contain string 1. This is a more powerful version of show batch. Is still fairly short and type the following: copy console show batch echo off first and second version of show first and show and 2 and second and third. Find first PH text and control shift. The first if command checks whether the first parameter typed show the command and the exempt recall compares the two strings to see if they are identical. The first is show the exempt. The show exempt batch is carried out. The second parameter, if you type show command and string for a search for a single parameter for the show exempt batch requires. Second, if command checks the first command parameter type, the show command with the end is an and. The show and batch is carried out in second and third parameters 2 and 3. Typed out show commands are 2 and search for, and they are parameters show and batch requires. First parameter type show command if then exempt and or and nor and to find the command is carried out with a perform a simple search. Except for the echo command, only one of the command show batch is carried out with any particular search. Figure 16.1 show that the show batch an example of each type of search can be made. For example, the figure list show command as you with the type of substitute value of the replaceable parameter show batch command. Show batch carried out with a not shaded and arrow to the right representing the contained show exempt and show and the content of each chain batch file. The value substitute of the replaceable parameters are shown below the chain batch file. Now you can perform any of these three types search for the show and command, and simple search works as did in earlier shows command, for example, to display all entries that contain shows in this type. Display all the entries do not contain a particular type and exempt as first parameter, for example, to display all entries outside the 747 area code type of command. You see with the show that exempt the 747 show the exempt 747 and sorts two strings type in the first parameter, for example, see of the engineers name Jones, and then if you put your telephone number in a business card in a text-like file, these three batches put contents of all the files at your fingertips. Not only can you search for an entry quickly, you can easily display groups of related entries. This application, like Edit, is another example of how MS-DOS can make your computer more useful without additional software. Alright, some useful batch files. To give some idea about some batch files, command might help you from day to day. Several useful batch files are shown here. They're not step-by-step examples. Description given the purpose of the batch file, show the contents exactly how it works, and describes you how you would use it. An effective way to become familiar with the batch command is experiment. You can enter the following batch files, for example, the experiment, then making change, the selecting efforts of the change. If your batch files include commands that can modify the delete file, make sure the tab of the batch files on disk containing files that you don't need. You can create batch files, copy the console file with either the text editor. Most batch files include one or more echo commands to add line space to display or for readability. They are shown in the echo file by period echo. If you don't have version 3.1 or later, echo line space, type echo, and then hold down the alt key, and then type 255 using the numeric keypad. Viewing a long directory list. Even though you back up an old file to clear out unneeded ones regularly, a directory can soon contain more files than the MS-DOS can list on one screen. And some often use directories, word processing directories, for example, the collection, spreadsheets, charts, and can be quite large. If you have version 4 or later MS-DOS, EGA, VGA display can use the long directory batch file described here to change the display to 43 lines per screen. Display long directory one screen batch at a time. Change the display batch to 25 lines. Long directory batch contains echo off CLS mode console lines 43. Directory 1%. First version pause mode contain console lines 25. Alright, the first mode command switches display 43. The domain commands find listing of the directory 1. Specify the parameter of the long directory command to display the entry 43. Lines of time wait for the press the key for the pause of the command. Press the end key for the continue with the directory listing is complete. Second mode command returns the screen by displaying 25 lines. Due to the command type along a direct file with the directory listing you want to see, you can include the drive letter file with the colon path name of the file name. Include the wildcard character. For example, you can type the command long directory A drive long direct. Clients word processing, long direct clients word processing, wildcard doc. If you don't have a path of file name type of the long directory, use the command to display with the current directory. Could be set up with the long directory batch list of the directory you want. It doesn't change the 43 lines per screen after telling you, but the ANSI system must be installed and inform the requested function have to identify the name of the ANSI system in the MS-DOS in Chapter 17 telling your system to how to do this. Alright, cleaning up disk storage, menu, word processing, other application programs, create backup file with the file extension back. Each time you change the file, your disk can get crowded with a backup file you don't need. Clean up batch files can be described here and replace one created earlier. Display with the directory entries all of the file with extension backup. Then pauses at the point you can cancel the command pressing control break. Press any key to proceed with the command and erase the files. Clean up batch file concerns echo. Cleansing echo will erase the following files. Directory first batch. First backup, echo, press control break to cancel, pause, delete, version 1 backup. Notice there's no space between version 1 and backup, and wildcard backup, directory delete commands list, specify the driver letter, path name, parameter of the file name. Be sure the end of the path name is with a backslash. Sure all back file with the current directory on the disk with the current driver. Type of the cleanup with the pressing E with the key. The pause command prompts you. And to erase the backup file with another directory, type of the path name file by the backslash as a parameter. You can also proceed with the path name, the drive letter, colon, for example, A drive cleanup or A drive clean market workplace directory subdirectories. Alright, directory or subdirectory contains many of the subdirectory files. Sometimes you'd like to see just of the subdirectory directory subbatch for the files described here. Lets you choose just that and the different techniques depending on the version of MS-DOS you're using. Using version 5 related directory subdirectory contains batch, echo off, subdirectories, echo, directory 1, A and AD. Attributed directory parameters to MS-DOS tells you to display just the subdirectories. You can take one parameter version 1 with the directory subdirectory command specify the directory whose entries are to be displayed. Parameter can include the driver letter, colon, and path name of both. If you include the parameter directory subdirectory command display the subdirectory current directory but does not display the directory name because you didn't type any of the characters replace the first version of the message line. If you're using earlier version of MS-DOS, you can take advantage of the fact that the directory command is to identify subdirectory of the version directory subbat of the bat contains the following: echo off subdirectories in version 1, directory version 1, find prompt. And files output directory command is piped and find the command that displays of the directory line containing the less than sign. With the earlier version of the directory subdirectory batch of the subdirectory of the current directory, you would type directory sub. See the current directory of the directory A. Drive A, you would save the dir sub A drive. The C of the subdirectory is the marketing workplace. You would type the dir sub marketing workplace. Two special entries and with the directory command identifies the subdirectories, all directories except the root. We can modify the directory sub batch so that it doesn't display these entries. To do this, pipe out with the directory command. To find out with the command, they use the parameter V to eliminate all lines of the containing the period. For the versions or later of the command would be then directly version 1 AD command prompt AD find parameter V and then dot. For any earlier version of MS-DOS command, you would be in this directory version 1 find prompt version parameter V. The added first command U with the parameter V eliminates all lines containing a period with U with the version of the directory sub. The command just as you with the earlier version created with the directory sub bat with a snap reverse action with the display only file with instead of the subdirectory directory fill. Directory file, batch file will require that you only make a simple change last line of the directory sub batch. If you're using version 5 or later, simply leave the hyphen before D and the AD parameter AD to the reverse in its meaning. If you're using an earlier version, then add the parameter v defined with the command to reverse its meaning. If you would use the command just as you would the directory sub, moving files from one directory to another. In tree structure file, sometimes you want to move with one directory and another. The version 6 or later MS-DOS included the move command, which makes it simple to move files. If an earlier version, you can move the files only by copying a file with a new directory with a copy command, then erasing the original with the delete. Move batch commands, these in one command. If you're running MS-DOS in 6.1 or later, you want to experiment with this file, save the mover batch. Given that the move command in MS-DOS version 6 or later with it move execute, we'll find move execute before even looking for move batch. Move batch contains echo off copy first version, second version, echo files targeted directory, and echo directory version 2. Echo if files to be moved in a directory, echo control break cancel, otherwise pause delete version 1. Here's how batch file works. Line 1, in line 1, echo command turns off echo. In line 2, copy command copy the file with the target directory. In line 3, clear selection screen commands clear the screen. In line 4 and 5, echo command display message in line space. In line 6, directory command display with the content of the target directory with the parameter P is included to ensure the time and enough to view the longer readable directory. In line 7 and 9, echo command displays the line space and warning message. In line 10, the pause command makes the system possible pause to let you cancel the delete command. In line 11, if the files you moved are not displayed in the listing of the targeted directory, you have created the command with the two parameters move the source and target. The source and name of the file to be copied and then deleted is included with the drive letter path name. You have the wildcard character and file name. MS-DOS display with the name of each of the file it copies. Target is the name of the directory with which source files are to be copied. If you omit the target, the top files are copied to the current directory. For example, assuming the current directory of the marketplace work directory, to remove the report doc from the directory of the engineering work processing, you would move the report doc to engineering work processing. Remove the file and budget January from engineering workplace to market workplace. You type the command as move engineering work budget January to move all files of the market workplace of the word market. You would have to move the word wildcard world market word market. Alright, for advanced batch commands, the batch commands you that have worked on up to this point are sufficient for you to create useful batch functions like search command for the phone list lines, list files. Rather than continue the rest of the chapter right now, you might want to put the book aside for a while, experiment, and return to learn the last 4 batch commands this book discusses. 4 remaining batch commands are shift, for, call, and choice, give you even more of the control over the batch file works. They are somewhat more complicated than other batch commands. For example, they should make their use earlier. They're clear. Preparing advanced examples, running example of chapter P and P wildcard and Q wildcard files should still be in run DOS directory for the exercise that David did in chapter 15, creating smart commands. You also need to put the floppy disk labeled archive files in the drive A. Shift command, shifting listing parameters. Shift command, move the list of parameters. Type of the batch command 1, position to the left. Example, suppose the shift command with the 3 parameters. After shift command, they carried out the ones. When version 3 becomes version 3, when version 2 becomes version 1, and when 1 is gone. After the second shift, what started out as 3 to 1 is when started as 2 to 1 as or both are gone. The command lets you short the batch file handle number of the parameters of the file and sample the batch illustrated with the technique archive 1 batch archives the number of the file with here are equals start if then version 1 or go to done archive 1 done if not existing archive 1 copy archive 1 shift goes to start and done. Here's the description of how this works. As usual, first line echo command turns off echo label start makes the beginning of the command will be repeated for each parameter, and then if the command checks to see if the parameter was entered in the first version, it does tell this comparing version 1 to quotation marks enclosing nothing at all. You're telling MS-DOS to compare the first parameter if one was typed with nothing, no parameter when comparison is true, meaning that there is no more parameter. Go to the command seeing MS-DOS the label done in line 8. Echo command display with the name of the file with it being archived. If the command checks whether the file is to be archived exists on drive A, it doesn't. The copy command copies the files from the current drive to drive A. Shift command moves the list of parameters one's position to the left. The go-to command sends the MS-DOS back to the label start. Label is done, marks the end of the file name. Use the bash file, you type archive1, followed by the names of the files to be archived. The command stop version 1 equals, in other words, when there are no more file names to be substituted for version 1. To test the command with a copy of the file with a P old, which are archived in chapter 15, creating smart file with a floppy disk and drive A with a current drive with a typing C prompt A drive P old, or now archive P old Q doc and Q old are typing the command shown if the C archive 1 P old Q P doc and Q old. It shows archive P and all the files. The confirming message showed that MS-DOS did not copy the file that was already on floppy disk, which was drive A P old, but that did copy the files that weren't on the floppy disk, Q doc and Q old. The short archive command does not display instructions warnings like bash view file that created in chapter 15 creating smart commands, but it does show how you can use shift command to write a bash file that handles any number of parameters. The technique is simple to do so with the first version 1. Shift parameters, then using go-to command to send the MS back to beginning to do it all over again. Just make sure you define a way to stop the process. MS-DOS will carry out the command forever. Alright, the for command, carrying out command more than once. Sometimes you might have the MS-DOS carry out the command then once to the bash file. For instance, carry out the command each file with a match of the file name with a wildcard character for the command does just that. Like if the command for the command has the two parts of the first part that defines how often the command is to be carried out, and the second part this command is to be carried out. For the for command is somewhat more complex than the other batch commands. If you don't fully understand the description of its parameters, read on, try an example as well as many other aspects using a computer. It's easier to use the for command than it is for the read about. The for command has three parameters: for version of p and the set to do command. The word in and do are required in the command. They are not parameters. The double version of p is replaceable parameter used in for command. MS-DOS assigns it to turn each value included in the set. Set is the list of possible values that can be given, and the version to version p separates the value of the space that must be included with the entire list of parentheses. For example, 1, 2, and 3. You can also specify a set of values, a file name that includes wildcard characters. For example, A drive wildcard doc. Alright, command. And MS-DOS command is other than another for a command. You can use both command batch command parameters such as first version and for commanding replaceable parameter version p in command. Also less complicated than it sounds. MS-DOS carries out the for command if it assigns the version pp for two versions and turn each other value with the specified in the set. Then it carries out the command each time it carries out the command. The MS-DOS first substitutes the version p from the current value taken from the set. A brief example show of the for command works. The following command carries out an echo command 3 times, displays each of the 3 words enclosed in the parentheses of the current, directing for 1 batch with the typing this. C prompt copy console for 1 batch for a percentage for version p and Able Baker Charlie do echo Baker version shift Z. In this particular command, for the command Able Baker Charlie is set an echo parameter. The version to version parameter is command for the command tells MS-DOS to carry out the echo command once. The echo word, each word in the parentheses, substituting intern Able Baker and Charlie for the version to version p. Test it by typing C prompt for 1 for the change of the bash file does not begin with the turning echo off. The MS-DOS displays each of the command and carries out the starting of the for command for version p and Able Baker Charlie do echo percentage p. MS-DOS then displays and carries out the echo command once each of the values set. Each time the substituting the next value with a set of the replaceable parameter in the echo command: echo Able, echo Baker, echo Charlie. Instead of specifying actual values in set, you can read replaceable parameters such as the version 1 technically works as it does in any other bash command by confusing it. In this case, because with no case, then version 1 and version P have the same command, and then here has version 1 refers to the first parameter typed on the bash command. Version 2 refers to the second parameter typed on the bash command, and so forth. Version prefers the value of MS selected the set enclosed parentheses for within the for command. Next example show the difference, and here would be the display and type of the parameter of the bash command instead of being included as part of the for command of the creating for batch 2. Copy console for 2 batch the version to version P in 1, 2, and 3 do echo version P control shift. For this command tells MS-DOS to carry out echo command echo parameter version to version once for each value of the parentheses substituting version to version, and then the first, and the second, and finally the third. You type the for 2 command, test it typing this by C prompt for dog easy fox. MS-DOS displays each of the command and carries out first display for command for version P and dog easy fox do E version easy fox version percent version parameter. Alright, note that MS-DOS has substituted values replaceable parameters set in the parentheses known as dog easy fox because they are 3 parameters you type that they have replaced with parameters 1, 2, and 3. As you may be noticed, preceding example, the MS-DOS has prompted 1% sign. 1%. One of the percent signs is version to version parameter. MS-DOS remove the first percent sign with substitute the parameters you type the sign the command for first version, second version, and so forth, and does, however, leave 1% sign show the value must still be substituted for version parameter. MS-DOS then does displays and carries out 3 echo commands, each time substituting one value of the set of parentheses of the version parameters. The echo dot, echo easy, echo fox. If you wish to specify the set forth command, the file name wildcard character MS-DOS then assigns the parameter and turn each file the name of the batch for the wildcard. You can use the technique to create a simple archive batch file using only a for command. The following command doesn't display instructions warnings, but it does show how much can be done in a single batch command. Create a batch file, archive 2 batch filing, copy console, archive batch 2 forward, version to version parameter, and version 1 do not if exist an A drive version parameter, version copy version parameter, A drive, control shift A drive, one file copied. Quick doc, and quick old are the floppy disk drive A. You copy these examples. Shift command, use the test archive 2 batch and archive all Q files. RC prompt archive 2 Q and extension wildcard moves MS-DOS displays each command and carries out starting the for command. Remember, you do not have to turn echo off. CJOIN prompts the version parameter and the Q with the Q wildcard if you do not exist the A parameter version copy parameter version to A. MS-DOS then displays and carries out 3 commands, each substituting a file with the name of the match to set enclosed the parentheses replacing parameter if in the line. C if not exists in A Q dot copy the Q dot to derive A if not exists the Q batch quick batch copy A, one file copied. If not exists Q old and copy Q old to A. This displays the copy command performing MS-DOS did not copy either quick old or quick doc or quick old because they were already on the archive floppy disk, but did copy quick batch, which hadn't been archived. For a command gives you the quick way to carry out the MS-DOS command several times. It shows some the sample batches for files included in this chapter 4 command makes it possible to create powerful batch commands. Or the call command using batch command and batch file. Early in this chapter, final version show batch was used the batch command showing and show exempt and batch command. MS-DOS return to show batch after carrying on the batch command, even though neither command, actual last command in the show batch last command was fine. You can use the compatibility with the chaining. Any version of MS-DOS you can use once you chain another command batch command, you can go back and to the first. If you're using version 3.3 or later, however, you can use the call command on a batch to file the tell MS-DOS to carry out the later other command carry out commands in another batch file. Unlike chaining, the call command causes MS-DOS to go back and continue the next command in the original batch file. This lets you use the batch command on your own making in a batch file, just as you would in use MS-DOS command. The call command is the call and the batch file and the parameters. Batch file is the name of the batch of the command that you want MS-DOS to carry out from within the calling batch file. Parameters represent the parameters in the batch file. Requires to support batch files demonstrate useful for the call command. First create a batch file named echo it batch in the type following copy console echo it batch echo off echo first percent shift and Z echo it batch simple echo parameter you enter with it. For example, echo Fred, type the following echo it Fred, and then that gives you a c.param. Now create another batch, echo all batch, which is for command to carry out the echo it batch for each of the three parameters. Pauses it until you press a key and displays the end of the message. Copy console echo all batch echo off for parameter and 1 to 3 to version 1, 2, and 3 do call echo and parameter pause echo end echo all batch. Control Shift Z. For the command carries out all of the call command with each of the three parameters, then can be entered with the echo all batch command. When the call command carries out the batch command echo it batch, specifying and turning each parameter enter with the echo it all batch command. Now type the following echo words X-ray Yankee and Zulu, echo all X-ray Yankee and Zulu, and then press any key to continue. Press any key, the MS-DOS display the final message echo all back into echo all batch. If you had included in the call command, the MS-DOS would have carried out echo it batch once displayed the first parameter X-ray, then would have returned to system prompt because you did use the call command. MS-DOS carried out echo it batch 3 times. Once you have each of the parameter, then return to the final lines of echo all batch before displaying the system prompt. Alright, the choice command, writing an interactive batch command. Most of the programs use the interactive occasionally ask you for some information such as the name of the file, whether you want to exit the program, wait, where you want to respond, and take some action based on your answer. And starting with the version 6 MS-DOS gives you your batch command, same capability with the choice command. Choice command lets you list one character respond with acceptable if and look like the text to be displayed, carried out in choice command. Display the message if you specify one or prompt list of the characters that can be chosen, waits for the keyboard response, so that you can determine which response was there in choice. Set a variable called error level 1 and reverse response listed was chosen 2, second response was chosen, and so forth. You would use the error level option if you command to check what the response was and take the appropriate action in the batch file. The choice command of the three commonly used parameters. See Appendix C MS-DOS command reference for explanation of all the parameters. Choice and the parameters C, and then show the keys and the number text and then n parameter n and text. Parameter C drive key specify the characters, letter, number, the punctuation marks are permitted as response. Don't separate the characters with a space or commas. Parameter n shells not to display with the prompt. Parameter T, the text specified with the message display with the before the prompt. Use the choice command to make the simple menu STEM system. Suppose you Procom Plus, Microsoft Money, Microsoft Works want to display the menu that lets you start any of these three programs just by pressing a letter. Then single batch file menu batch would let you do just that. Echo off. Shows a program Echo Procom Money plus Echo Money Works Echo choice, and then it shows C drive. Press N and then PM W and Q to quit. Error level 4 go to, and then go 2 3 go to Works 2 go to Money 1 go to PC Plus. And shows the and Works Money plus and menu. Or the first section of the batch clear for the screen display with the menu of the three program. The choice command waits for the reply, sets error level to the top of the value. Here's a closer look at the three parameters, the choice parameters. C drive, PM, Q, W, PQ, or Procom plus Money, and Works and Q for quit. Prompt N tells the choice of command not to display with the prompt, which in this case would be PM or Q or W. PM, W, or Q to quit the message of the choice command display before waiting for the reply. Next, the batch files check the value error level to set with the choice for the command run to the appropriate program, but cover the command actually check with the error level that is equal to greater than a specified value. You check for the largest possible value, then the next largest, and so forth. The verb applied listed choice command of the parameter C is P, so choice assigns error level the value 1 if someone presses P. Fourth reply is listed in Q, so choice assigns error level value 4 if Q is pressed. Alright, after you're done running the program, you choose the bash file, runs a menu and a bash command, carries over the bash file. How can a bash file carry out itself? The MS-DOS file of the bash command within a bash file, it stops stops carrying out that current bash file and starts one named. In this case, the MS-stop says menu bash and starts again at beginning, and it does not matter if the same bash file is being started again. Because this bash file command appears before the end of each bash file, it causes menu to be displayed again and after exiting one of the program choices. The only way to leave the menu is pressing Q or Control Break to stop any of the bash file. When you type menu, MS-DOS clears the screen that displays your menu, choose the program, and then Program Plus menu work. Press MWQ or quit. You press any of the key other than one of the four listed. MS-DOS beeps and waits for you to press another key. Press W. MS-DOS carries out the command starting Microsoft Works because the choice of the command set at error level 3. Then when exiting Microsoft Works, MS-DOS displays your menu again. To leave the menu, press quit. Q for quit. You can adapt the bash file to your own programs, replacing programs' names in the first part of the file using more than the lines necessary to change the commands at the start. Program again, adding more commands if adding items to the menu. Alright, some more useful bash files. Alright, the following bash files use advanced bash commands. Again, they are not step-by-step example, they are working sample to give an idea of which can be done with the full set of the bash commands. You can enter bash file, copy the console by using the text editor. Display a series of small text, work with any of the small text such bash file, boilerplate, paragraphs, forward processor documents handy. They're able to review several files, one command rather than having a print and display one time. The bash file shown with a review bash file, which use the shift type pause command to display any of the number of the files one at a time. Remember echo alt 255 echoes the line review bash file contains an echo starts if the version 1 go to done. Echo space tab file name echo version 1 or version 1 echo type version 1 echo to echo pause shift go to start and done. Bash file use the same technique earlier example shift command the first echo command to display the file name move toward the center of the screen within two tabs so that you'll know what file is displayed. Last two echo commands display the two blank lines to separate lines of the pause command and message. Alright, with the review command, you type the names of the files of the parameters displayed with the P wildcard, for example, to review the P document or P old or P backup. MS-DOS clears the screen and display with the first file with the display of the pause command message, waits for the press of the any key before clearing the screen to display with the next file. When if the command finds a null parameter of quote-to-quote, MS-DOS returns the command level. Searching files for a string of characters, however, search them through your paper files to find a specific letter or reference. To help you find all lines of the containing a particular string. Scan bash lets you use this file to be searched in a string for the search for it. It displays each line in its file containing the string. You can also use wildcard characters to search a set of files. Here's the contents of scan bash echo off, echo space tab lines in version 1 that contain version 2. Version to version parameter in version 1 do find a version in parameter 2. All work here is done in the last line of the bash file. The earlier lines clear the screen to display the title for the command. The for command actually carries out the find command for each of the file with the name of the match first parameter. You can type the scan command. The find command is one of that search for the string that you type the second parameter. As mentioned earlier in this chapter, remember that you have version 5 or later MS-DOS. You can use the ignore parameter or I parameter to tell the find command to ignore the difference between uppercase lowercase characters for the version to parameter in version 1 to do find and ignore version parameter 2 in the values of the version. Display each line containing the word sales. All files in external document you would type scan doc sales. MS-DOS would clear the screen and display lines in doc that contain sales and then follow each line to contain the word sales. Displaying a sorted directory. Beginning with the version 5, you can use the O parameter of the directory command and sort of the directory with the name and the extension for the dates and the time. And if you don't have version 5, however, you can sort of the directory with the name and the extension of the side without creating 4 small batch files described here. Go to the item in the directory entry. Always begin with the same column unless you specify the wide directory listing. You can sort of the directory entries by extension size by either the column parameter number forward slash positive number sort of the command sort of the name does not require column parameter begins. The file name starts with the column 1. These are the columns where the information begins. Name when column does not need to be specified. Extension column 10. Size column 7 to 16. Although directory entries include the date and time, sorting time, and then date in column 24. The end column 34 does not work properly. Sorting the date in example would case January 1 year to appear listed before January December preceding the year. That is January 1st, 1995, preceding 12/31/1994. Is sorted by the time and file created with the end in the morning of the January 5th, 1995 would appear on the list before the file created in 11 in the morning of the month. Earlier than 2 if you were having version 4 with the MDOS display with the time based on 12 o'clock hour rather than 24-hour clock. File created in 5 in the evening would be listed before file created in 9 in the morning. Sorting by date and time, therefore, not particularly useful. On the other hand, the benefits sorting the directory alphabetically, file with the name by extension are obvious. Furthermore, you need to delete some of the files to make size on the space if you're interested in the relative size of the file. Then sorting size is useful to create with the command. Display with the directory, sort with the name of the extension size. You need to create the 3 batch file with the sort of the display with the directory. Then you create the 4th batch file within the chains. The 4 batch channel that chains that to the correct one of the other 3. First copy the console as you have done before to create the following 1-line batch and then their names to tell you how they're sort. Directory name batch, directory version 1 sort and find dash and specified or more. Directory extension batch, direct version 1 sort, columns 10 find dash or more. Directory size batch, directory version 1 sort 16 or find more. Note if you have MS-DOS version 6.2 or later, add parameter PW after version 1 if these batch files. Each of these batch files sort display with the contents directory specified in the parameter 1 pipes output with the sort command find command that selects only lines that contain hyphen limiting the output just of these lines that contain entry with the hyphen separate with the parts of the date. Output of the find command is in the pipe to more command to handle the directories more than one screen long. If no parameter is specified with the batch command, sort the display with the current directory. The only difference among the batch files is the column and the sorting begins. You now need the batch file containing the correct one of the previous 3. Name the directory sort batches contain. Echo off percentage version name extension does if version 1 in directory version 2. First parameter must be in the name, extension, or size. Be sure not to blank between directory and version parameters, and second line result won't be a valid name if any of the chain batch file with the quotient marks for the batch 1 and percentage the version to version, preventing MS-DOS from displaying an error message with no parameters typed without the command. If the directory sort batch for a command is set with a parameter to parameter, and turning each of the words within set with a parenthesis that carries out the command. If the command of the parameter to first parameter type with the sort command, if there's a match, if the command adds the parameter to directory, produce the name of the one of the resort batch files, change the file. For example, the directory plus name would become directory name. Second parameter 2, any type of chain with the distort command would be the parameter 1, the directory name needed by the chain batch file. If the first parameter that you type with the directory sort command isn't one of the 3 words in the set parentheses, if the command is not true, the echo command in the next line is carried out, displaying the message for the list of the parameters in the distort batch command ends without changing one of the files to display a sorted directory. To display a sorted directory, you would type the sort command, one of the 2 parameters. The first would specify how to sort, which would have to be the name and extension sign. The second, the parameter would be optional, would be the driver, the letter path, with the name of the directory to be displayed. If you didn't include the second parameter, the column command would be displayed with the current directory on the disk of the current drive. For example, the display with the current directory on the disk of the current drive. Sorted by the size, you would type the sort size, the display with the root directory. Sorted by the name of the disk and drive A, you would type the sort name drive A. Alright, chapter summary. These batches should give you a good start at collecting special purpose commands. They might give you some idea of creating more of your own. This is more flexible. MS-DOS really becomes apparent. The wide range of MS-DOS command capabilities, one of the starting point of putting something operating system work within redirection filter command batch files. Macros, which combine all the other MS-DOS commands into a set of custom tailored commands to make your personal computer truly personal. Chapter 17, Tailoring Your System.